Hello and welcome to episode 3 of my 8-part series about designing branding. In the last episode we looked at designing logos, and you'll probably have heard it said that branding or a visual identity is so much more than just a logo. So we're going to start putting together everything else. And we start in this episode with the typography that we will use for the brand. When it comes to choosing the typography for your brand, I would recommend choosing a maximum of 3 typefaces, but it could be less. Usually you'll have a header font, a body copy font, and then it can be fun to have an accent font. This might be something a bit more quirky and ornate, but something that is going to be used sparingly. Just say for the odd word here and there, rather than large amounts of text. So let's dive in and I will share with you some of my favorite tips for pairing typefaces and getting inspiration. You might want to start off by looking around the internet and finding some inspiration as to fonts that you like. So I've just headed over to my podcast website and I'm just going to take a screenshot of the fonts that have been used here in the footer, and I'm going to show you a really great tip of how you can find out what those fonts are or find something similar in Adobe Illustrator. So I've dragged my screenshot into Adobe Illustrator, and if I click on it and then head to Window, Retype Beta, what I'm going to do is click Match Font, and it is going to search this screenshot and very quickly find me the fonts that I need. So this one here, it's got spot on and it's Quincy Medium. If I click on this one, you'll see that it's given me some suggestions. So it does actually have the correct one, which is Europa Bold, and you'll see that that's ticked because it's activated in my font library, but it's also given me suggestions of other similar options, and I actually really like this Adriana Demi Bold. So I'm just going to click on this cloud and that will activate the font on my computer, so then I can use it in my design. When you are choosing the fonts for your branding, I think it's really important to remember how you want people to feel, as fonts have a lot of personality. Now, obviously color has a big impact, and I've pulled out my brand colors here, and so you can see how that influences how you feel about the designs. But from these 3 very different fonts, you can see that they have a huge impact into the mood and feel as well. Now, I've pulled back in my mood board, and I don't think any of these are quite right for what I'm going for, but I wanted to pick extreme examples so that you could see the contrast. Once you've had to think about how you want people to feel when they interact with your branding, I would recommend heading back to Adobe Fonts and seeing what they have on offer. I really like looking at the trending now section and the hidden gems, and already I can see a few that I think fit the bill. So Cawdor, I've already added the family. I really like this Raritas one, so I'm going to click on here and add family. Now, if like me, you are not very good at remembering the names of fonts that you've added, all you need to do is go to Manage Fonts in the top right hand corner, open Creative Cloud app, and then it's going to bring up a window and it's going to tell you all of the fonts that you have added recently, so you can easily go back and find something. So there's a few different font choices that you can consider, and I've laid them out here in their general groupings. So sans serif and serif are great for legibility, and so this is what I think you should use for your headers and your body copy. This will be a safe option, and a big part of design is making sure that the information that we share is legible and accessible. Next up, we have monospace and handwritten. I've put a question mark by these because I think these could work for a header font, but they also could work well for an accent font, so something that you're going to use sparingly. And then with script and decorative and display, I don't think you should be using these for your header or your body copy. You could use them as an accent font, but again, you just need to be really careful. These are a lot harder to read, so just consider that as you are putting together your font choices. So I've put together some font pairings, and I think there's a few different options that you can go for. So here I've gone for a serif header, serif subheader, and serif body copy. And then I've gone for a hand-drawn font for the accent font. So you can see how that could work in, say, a button or something where it's just a few words. Here are a few more examples of different font pairings I've tried out. To simplify things, I think you have 4 main options. Serif header with sans serif body copy, the opposite of that, so sans serif header and serif body copy, and then all sans serif and all serif. In the last example, I tried using just one typeface for everything and just using different weights, which is a great option if you're feeling overwhelmed by all the choice. Over here, I've put a few examples of fonts that I would not use. So none of these fonts are going to work as body copy because they just won't be legible. So I've actually chosen the first option that I showed you as the fonts for this branding. I think the serif fonts really add to the calm but elegant feel that I'm going for with this cafe, but I also started applying them to design so that I can see how they work with the branding in full. So here I've made a little loyalty card, and you can see how I've used the header font here and the body copy here, and then I've shown how it would work in a postcard. Now you'll see over on this design I've outlined the text. It might be that you've chosen the fonts that you want to use for your branding and then you forgot to write down or make a note of what they are. So a quick tip, we can go back to Window and go to Retype Beta, and instead of choosing Match Font, we can choose Edit Text. So we click on Edit Text and it's going to tell me what the font is, but it's also going to make the text live again. So all I need to do is select the font that it is, I can double click on it, and that is going to make the font live. So say I'd made a spelling mistake, I could easily go in and just change the type. So now that we have the typography for our brand decided, things are starting to come together. We've got the bare bones of our brand, the color palette, the logo, and the typography. In the next episode, we're going to start fleshing things out further and designing a brand pattern, which we can then use in a whole range of ways in our branding. Make sure you subscribe to Adobe Live and come back and join me for episode 4.